Hello everyone. In this tutorial, I want to show you how to make your scene ready for the next step, which is putting everything into a hierarchy so you can move your object, the body parts later, okay? So we're gonna do some scene cleanup and renaming and grouping and changing a bunch of pivot points, everything to get our model ready for the submission. Which one is it? Let's see. This is, to make it ready for submission for midterm project, mechanical organism part 4, which is like a final mesh, partial UVs, and scene management. Okay, so we're doing some scene management and cleaning stuff. Okay, so first thing, my robot is really ugly because I just created it in a couple of minutes, but that will do the work for like showing you how to manage your scene, right? So don't look at this ugly thing. It's extremely like blah, right? So don't look at this and don't think that if you turn in something like this you get a good grade, right? Okay, just kidding. So first thing, I want to duplicate everything to the other side. Okay, you might have done it like before, like one by one. I just want to do everything mirrored at once. Let's see what happens. Okay, I have this half of body here and the eyes and everything. I wanna duplicate it to the other side, right? So let's just do that. So what are the parts that I need to be duplicating? Okay, first thing, I'm gonna create a locator because that's my favorite thing. I love locators, right? They're just gonna give you so much freedom to change the pivot point because you can always kind of snap the pivot points to them, right? So I just created a locator in case I needed that. So now I'm gonna select the objects that I want to use duplicate especial to mirror. Okay, so I'm just gonna click on these objects, holding down Control Shift. I'm gonna select everything here, select everything here, and these two, and yeah, these are the objects that I want to use duplicate especial on. So the first thing would be to match the pivot point to the center of the project, right? Because I want it to be mirrored based off of the y-axis. So if I just put all the pivot points for these body parts here and do duplicate especial, it should do the trick. I'm guessing it's gonna do some weird stuff, but let's just try and see if it does that. Then we're gonna get to that and try to resolve that too. Okay, so so I selected everything that I wanted to be mirrored, and I want to select the locator last because that's where when I see that my manipulator shows up in the center. So the order of selection is important in Maya. When you want to match the pivot points of like multiple objects, the last object that you choose is the one that Maya considers to be okay. I'm going to match every pivot point to this, right? So it is important that you select the object or locator that you want to match the pivot point to the last thing, okay? So that's what I did. I selected everything and then shift clicked on the locator, and I'm in the move mood here. Hit W on the keyboard. That's how I can see that I'm selecting the right thing. If you're in Q, like selection mode, it's not gonna show up. It's not gonna give you any indication of where the pivot point is. Okay, so make sure you're hitting W on your keyboard to go to move tool, and then you can see these arrows, and wherever they show up, it means that this is the pivot point of the last object you selected. Okay, so I selected everything. Now I want to go to edit, duplicate especial. I'm going to go to the options. Let's just reset the setting first. I reset the setting, and then I'm gonna go in, and because I wanna mirror in the x-axis. Okay, these objects needs to be placed in the x-axis. Okay, so I'm just gonna put -1 here. Let's see how it works. Okay, it works weird, as I was guessing. Okay, let's close this and do Control-Z to go back. Okay, so why does duplicate special doesn't give you a good mirror? Like most of the times when you have worked on objects and, you know, replace them and freeze transform on them and stuff like that. Why? Oh, okay, I forgot to match the pivot point. Let's just do that. See, I need to match the pivot point, then use the duplicate special. Then I can nag about how Maya is not listening to me, right? Okay, so rewind. So you selected everything, selected the locator last, so you know that when you want to match pivot points, this is where every pivot point of these objects are going to be. So you can go to modify and then match transformation and then match pivots. That's the function that matches pivot points of all these objects to the last object that you selected, which in our case is the locator at the center of the project, right? So I'm just gonna hit match pivot. Now I can do duplicate special, right? So now that the pivot points are matched, just gonna deselect the locator, holding Control on my keyboard, deselect it. These are the objects that I want to be duplicated, and I'm gonna do edit and then duplicate special. Okay, now it does a lousy job and I can nag about it and I can tell you how to fix that. Okay, I'm gonna hit Control-Z. So sometimes when you create objects and you match the pivot point and try to use duplicate special, it does a weird job. It does, like, you know, it doesn't mirror it the right way that it is supposed to mirror it. Why? Because these objects might have like these objects have already have like translate XYZ, rotation and everything, and because their translation, rotation and scale, everything is not like at the default, which is 0, 0, 0 for rotation and translation and 1 for scale, Maya does, when it wants to calculate the duplicate, it just, some stuff, like it calculates things twice, and well, because these numbers are different for each piece and part, Maya acts different when it wants to duplicate them, okay? So what we can do is that we can go ahead and select everything that we want to duplicate, or one by one, it doesn't matter. If you want to do it one by one, that's easier for you, you can do that. I'm just going to select everything. So there's a way to set all of these values to their default values. And for do this, you can go to modify and then do freeze transformation. And freeze transformation means it's going to be set to the 0 value. It's not going to place your objects and at their original place at the center of the project. It's just going to set the 0 value for the default value for the channels of the object. And that's a really important step before rigging the objects. And you're gonna know why. Probably I'm gonna talk about this when you want to pose your character. Okay, but just for now, when you do duplicate special and it acts weird, we're gonna know, okay, we need to freeze transformation. And when I do freeze transformation, it's just gonna put the default value for all these parts, like 0 for translate, 0 for rotation, and scale 1. So it means that they all have now the same value for all their channels, and they all have their pivot point at the center. So now let's try duplicate special and just hold your fingers crossed. We're gonna try this. Apply. Okay. So it somehow does a good job for these objects, but apparently not. It doesn't like these two. Okay, let's hit Control-Z. I'm guessing if something like this happens, we need to make sure that we delete history on the objects, okay? because these two that didn't duplicate correctly, these are the ones that I like extruded and manipulated and extracted the faces off of them. So I'm thinking, okay, Maya doesn't like that, right? So while I have everything selected, I delete history on them, okay? And now I do duplicate a special. Well, what can I say, Maya? Okay, now I can see what's the problem. Hopefully, Control Z. I can see that these are already put into a group because, as I said, I separated some faces off of it and extruded it, and Maya puts it in this group, this cylinder group. Okay, so what I want to do is that I can just shift select everything here and do Shift P to ungroup them. Okay, Shift P, ungrouped. Now I want to delete history. Okay, I can get rid of this empty group here by hitting delete on my keyboard. So now let's try. We're gonna try until we can do this, right? That's the attitude. We're gonna fight Maya and we're gonna win. Okay. So selected everything, hitting W on my keyboard. Just to be sure. Well, actually, I think all the pivot points are in the center, but just to be sure, I'm just gonna shift select the locator and do the match pivot thing again. Modify, match translations, and match pivots. Okay, here we go. Now I can deselect the locator by holding down Control and drag over it. So now I'm just gonna close this one and open it again in case Maya is sensitive about that too. Modify, and then no, not modify, sorry. Edit, duplicate a special, go to the option, reset the setting, put -1 for scale X and apply. Well, I think just Maya doesn't like that. Let's just do them like one by one. Oh, okay. So I can see that the transformation is not like this didn't got to the when I did freeze transformation. I can see that it still has values. So that might be the problem. I don't know how did it skipped freeze transformation. Okay, here, here, and here. Oh, I can see that all of them, they didn't get freeze transformation. That's weird. Let's just do that and do modify freeze transformation. Okay, now let's see. Okay, everything is, I'm just looking at here and I want to see the default value for all these parts, right? You can see it's good. It doesn't matter for this one because I'm not going to be duplicating this, okay? Okay, I can see that now I have everything I need. Again, holding your fingers crossed. Just gonna shift select everything. This, this, this. Doot, doot, doot. And I selected everything. So now I can do, let's just delete history. Let's just do that. Okay, deleted the history. The pivot points are matching. I'm just gonna go to edit, duplicate a special to the options. I'm paranoid, so I'm just gonna do reset setting, put the scale minus, apply, and yes, done. We could do it, right? So I specifically wanted to do this part with you on the tutorial so you can see that it's not like, you know, even when you're like, you think you know what you're doing, like me, you know, I think I know, you know, duplicate a special, and you know, I know freeze transformation, I know everything. Like most of the times when you want to do something, you cannot do it with the first try, okay? You can just keep trying and figuring out what would be the problem, try to problem solve your issues, right? So now I've got everything mirrored on the other side, right? So let's just let's just pause this video here because I'm guessing it's going to be too long. And in the next video, we get to the scene management things.